Hi, everybody. This is Lois, and I'm with Joe Lee. We are together working on a brand new project that I'm so excited about. It's Coaching Business Initiators. So we're working on putting a system in place for coaches who want to get their message out to other coaches and to really be able to make a difference in people's lives. And so part of what we wanted to do and why I am bringing this to all of you in this community is that getting your message out as a coach to people that you want to coach, actually that concept isn't a whole lot different than it is for those of us who want to build and leave a legacy. We need to get our message out. We need to know what our message is to get it out there. And so the concepts are very much the same. And Joe, you do so much with talking about building your business around the concept of the avatar, your audience, the target audience. And really, if you're creating a legacy, your audience, knowing your audience is important as well, isn't it? So
Yeah.
How do you go about building an audience and knowing how to target?
Yeah, I see a lot of similarities between building a legacy for, say, as an executive, or building that legacy within the digital marketing space as well. There's just a lot of similarities because as an executive, you're wanting to shape and change the world. You're wanting to build this legacy that's going to outlive you and just kind of have this grand plan. We have the same thing in the digital marketing side of the business. We want to craft a message that's going to help shape the world. And we do that by identifying the target market that we want to address, or what we might call a niche. And we do that by identifying our ideal client or our avatar. And so we use those words a little bit interchangeably here. And when you're creating a legacy from say an executive standpoint, you're wanting to change the world, but you're not going to change 7 billion people. You will be able to change a portion of that. And with that portion, then they can step in and they can change another portion. Maybe your target market is, like, we see a lot of people working with, maybe it's drilling wells in Africa. Maybe it's feeding the unsheltered. Maybe it's spreading a ministry throughout Europe. Whatever that might look like, you're not trying to change the every single person there. You have a very small and identified target that you're shooting at, that you're trying to change. We do the exact same thing in digital marketing. In the digital marketing, we talk about it as a megaphone. You, as a coach, one of the challenges that we have as coaches is finding the right people that need to hear our message so that we can shape the world. And if we're shouting at 7 billion people, one, it costs a lot of money to do that. And two, our message gets so diluted that nobody can hear it. And so when we talk about getting a megaphone for our message, we're talking about getting that megaphone that can talk to, maybe it's those 30,000 people that we really know well. We know exactly what pain they're in. We know exactly how to address that and how to fix that. And so we craft that message for those very specific people. And the same thing happens when you're creating a legacy as an executive. You're not trying to, if you try and change the entire world all at once, one, it's just going to be overwhelming, and you're going to become just lost in the process, because you'll change one thing and then 10 other things will break. and you'll change one of those, and then 10 more things will break. And it gets discouraging, quite frankly. We see that all the time with coaches and in different with different businesses and different types of entrepreneurs, where they're spread so thin trying to do so much they can't actually get the job done. And we have a ton of success when we get people narrowed down into a very, very, very narrow space. So maybe it's health, wealth, and relationships. And out of that, you're in the real estate market. And in the real estate market, you can flip houses, or you can do for sale by owners, or you can do commercial, or you can do, maybe it's a particular size of house that you're one, or single family. There's all sorts of different parts of real estate. It's not all the same. And so you get into that very narrow space, and in that narrow space is where you can actually create change and have the most impact. So yeah, super, super similar in the ways we approach things for leaving a legacy and for building a business.
So part of what I have realized as I've gotten involved more and more with digital marketing and building our business, my business as well, in this world, is that as I know how to narrow down on the audience, there's several things that have to come in place. One is I have to be really clear about what it is I'm trying to do, right? And so I think many times we start with this concept of, I want to build a legacy. I want to leave something behind that's important and significant. But just anything leaves us with nothing, generally.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing again. It's, how do I hone this down into something meaty, specific, niched, where I really can make a difference? And then when I do, I can shout it out. I can let everybody know that that's what I'm doing, right? That's
Yep.
And it allows you to be so much more impactful in terms of what it is that you're trying to do. And so I think for us, one of the things that is really essential is being intentional. It's starting to plan early on. What's that message that I want to get out? Who do I want to influence? Who do I want to impact? For some people, it's water. For some people, it's food. For some people, it's, the list goes on as to what it could be. And it doesn't matter what the list is. What does matter is being very clear and having it narrow enough that you can actually get your voice heard in that area.
Yeah, I think back to some of the mistakes that I have made personally over the years, and one of them was not having good clarity. As a coach, at the end of the day, I want to help everybody. One, I know that coaching is for everybody. Everybody needs a coach. A coach needs a coach. That's why I have a coach. And there's just this, most of the coaches I meet have this massive amount of passion to help people grow and develop and to change. And one of the side effects of that is that a lot of times we don't have good clarity. We want to help everybody. And so everybody becomes our audience. And when everybody's the audience, nobody's the audience, because nobody can hear. Again, we're shouting at 7 billion people with just our voice, and our voice doesn't, I can't shout down the block hardly, let alone shout around the world. And that's what we're trying to do. Even with the internet, it's not possible. You even look like a big, huge names in the industry, say maybe a Tony Robbins, in the marketing side, a Russell Brunson or Grant Cardone or Brendan Bouchard, even those big names. I'll promise you, I can go downtown where I'm at right now here in Little Rock, and I can find hundreds of people that have never heard those names before. Hundreds of people. And then you're talking about little old me, whoever, trying to say my message is so important that everybody's going to get it, and then just yelling and screaming on the internet. It doesn't work. You have to have very, very specific clarity, because if you don't have good clarity, there's several things that happen. One, you're sending your message to the wrong people. You don't know who you're talking to. And if you don't know who you're talking to, nobody's going to listen because they don't care. And the second thing is if you don't if you don't have that really good crystal clear, that clarity in your mind, then when you're speaking and when you're messaging, your brain doesn't actually know how to deliver that information because it doesn't know what it's doing. And so when you're delivering a message, you come across as very inauthentic, and you come across as not you're not actually able to connect because you don't know who you're talking to and you don't know what you're talking about. Even if you have this massive amount of knowledge and skill set, that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to connect with the people that you're trying to connect with, because you don't know your audience well enough in order to be able to do that. So yeah, it's
so true. And it's the difference between being effective and efficient and simply being in motion, right? And many times being in motion feels good. It just doesn't create a result. And those of you who are listening because you already are leaders and you really value your time and your investment. And so being clear about this, I think, enables you to do that so much better. One of the things that we would like to offer you is if you let us know that you're interested, email us. Our email address is a part of this. And Joe has put together a wonderful worksheet on how to figure out what your niche is, so you can be very clear and specific about addressing those needs. We'd love to send it to you. It's free. Just let us know where to send it, and we would be delighted to do that. We really want a lot of leaders who are passionate about what they do and want to leave a legacy. So if we can help you in this way, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast today. We look forward to talking with you again. If there are things that you would like to know or questions that you have, please comment, let us know. We'd be glad to respond. I know Joe is glad to come back anytime, aren't you?
Yep.
I'm hoping, yes.
Yeah.
And we will be glad to answer those questions. So thank you very much for your time today.